Thanks for joining us here at Functional Bliss, where Audra and Jessica will guide you through exercises and wellness techniques to help you live your best life every day. It's in the name, after all, Functional Bliss. Before you do anything else, click like and subscribe and ring the bell so you'll know whenever we put up a new video. To join our Blissful Gang for live Zoom classes where you can get more direct suggestions and encouragement, go to our website and sign up. Check the class description below for any equipment needs, grab your gear, and let's get started.
With at least one pillow on your lap, possibly one pillow on the ground with your feet on it if you're comfortable putting your feet on your pillow. Or you could put your feet on your yoga block if a sturdier position would feel a little bit better. And then we will also use the block under feet. So we're going to just kind of we're just going to use all of our props. All right, so one pillow underneath your feet and then one pillow on your lap, and then just get that comfortable. So feet in a good comfortable position, back snuggled into the back of your chair. Let your eyes close down, settle in. Let's just let your muscles take a moment to soften a little bit. And then assuming that your feet are resting on your pillow or on a soft surface, notice the little subtle variation of positioning underneath your feet. So there might be a little bit of flexion in your ankles or a little bit of a raise in your toes or softness to your toes, little variations of how your feet are placed. And one foot might feel just slightly different from the other, all things considered, unless you've got them on the yoga block, and then that might feel a little bit more solid. So notice the surface underneath you. And then allow your feet, your toes, and your legs to get just a little bit heavier down into the ground. And then go in a big opposition. So taking your awareness away from your feet. Now you're going to notice the part of your back that is touching the back of your chair. And then once you've become aware of the part of your back that's touching the back of your chair, you're just going to imagine that you're breathing into that space. So nice, generous inhalations, almost as if your breath was trying to push your back away from the chair, but not really. We just want a nice, full, deep, generous breath. And now you're going to pay attention to those two spaces at the same time. So you're going to notice the part of your back that's connected to the back of the chair. Notice your feet and the surface that they're touching. You'll inhale like you're trying to breathe into the back of the chair. And as you exhale, you're going to imagine that your armpits and the back of your body are getting soft and heavy all the way down to your feet. So inhale, breathe into the back of the chair. Exhale, soften all the way down to your feet. Go for one last breath here. Big, generous inhale, breathing into the back of your chair. Exhaling as you soften down to your feet. And then wherever your hands are positioned, you're just going to start to twinkle your fingers and twinkle your toes. It doesn't have to be anything extreme. Just invite a little bit of invigorating into the fingers and the toes. Get a sense of how your feet and your hands are feeling this morning. Do they feel cold? Do they feel warm? Do they feel stiff? Do they feel supple? There's no right or wrong, but just notice. And then notice maybe as you started to move your fingers and your toes, a slightly deeper breath draws back into your lungs. Take one more moment here, just twinkling the fingers, twinkling the toes. And then we're going to sit up just a little bit taller. So now you're going to lift your back away from your seat, but your feet are still resting on your pillow. And you're just going to notice just that little subtle variation. Breathe into the back of your body, the space where your back was touching the chair. Exhale and soften all the way down to your feet. And then if your eyes are closed, you'll slowly and mindfully start to flutter your eyes open, but take your time. And then we're going to reposition ourselves. So we're going to take one pillow to the back of the chair. And I'm going to spin myself around, but you'll take your time to get yourself set up. So we're going to take our pillow, put it so that it's against the back of the chair. And then we're going to go for a side seat. The hip is going to you're going to try to scoot your butt so that one cheek is kind of off the edge of your chair. And then we're going to twist and rotate. So we're going to rotate towards the back of the chair. You're going to let your hands find a good hand hold or a little resting position. And you could also bring your other pillow in if you need that extra bit of support. But then once you've got it, the hip that's off the chair, you're going to let that hip anchor down towards the ground. So you're going to heavy, almost as if you're trying to achieve a little bit of a side body stretch or a little bit of side body where it meets the hip. So think of trying to find that point and then position your foot and your leg so it feels comfortable, but there's a little bit of sensation in the side of the body and the hip. And then once you've got that going on, just settle into the back of your chair and take about 10 nice deep breaths, slow, generous breaths. If you can, think about breathing into that space that was connected to the back of the chair. And as you exhale, you'll get heavy down towards your feet. Take one more breath here. And then start to lift up slow. Take your time as you come up. Go as slow as you can, and then slide that leg in just a little bit. So we're going to keep the cheek off the edge of the chair if we can, just to have a little bit of wiggle room. And then before we release and switch over to the other side, you're going to imagine you're moving your front pocket forward and back. So with one cheek off and one cheek on, you're just going to shift forward and back, just a light bit of movement in the hip, just to release any tension that we may have come across as we let that hip get nice and heavy. But go super duper slow so that it feels like a good gentle movement, nothing extreme. Notice your breath here. Even as you do these slow movements, notice your breath. So your breath might be a barometer to tell you what's up. So sometimes if the breath starts to catch a little bit or gets a little bit labored, then that might be an indication that things are a little too much and you might want to dial it back. So notice your breath. Take one more shift of the hips forward and back. And then we're going to reposition to the other side. So you'll slowly and carefully turn yourself around. Take your time. No need to rush. I'm going to spin my whole chair around, but you take your time as you turn yourself into position. And then once you get to the other side, it's going to be one cheek on, one cheek off. We're going to let that hip get heavy as we rotate towards the back of the chair. So we lean in, get as soft and heavy as you can. Arms are going to help support. And then once you're there, just come back to your breath. Inhaling, filling up that back space that was connected to the chair. Exhaling, letting your armpits and the whole body get soft and heavy down towards your feet. Take one more breath here. And then as slow as you can, start to come up away from that, lean into the back of the chair, unwind your rotation, step your foot in, but we're going to keep that side of the hip off of the seat. So one side on, one side off. And then once you're there, we're just moving that front pocket forward and back. Small, slow, gentle movements just to kind of release the hip and make sure it feels okay. All right, one more shift of that hip forward and back. And then we're going to start to find our way down to the ground. So we're going to go as slow as we can. We're going to take our time. We'll position ourselves so that we're seated in front of the low side of the chair. And then we're going to take our pillows and they're going to be tucked under the bend of our knees. So we're going to go for a wide leg seated forward fold. And you'll take your pillows, and not like super duper wide, like a gentle width. So something that feels like you're kind of doing work, or you're attempting to do a little bit work, but are you really? Because sometimes the work is in the not doing, and that Wu Wei principle. So tuck your pillows underneath your knees and underneath maybe the little bit the backs of the thighs. A nice wide position, but not too wide. So we don't want to go for big sensation. And then once you've got your pillows in place and your chairs in a good position, then you're just going to lean forward. And if you can, let your head rest on your forearms. And then there might be little wiggles and adjustments that need to be made. Like you want to make sure your feet, your knees, your back, your hips all feel pretty comfortable. So feel free to wiggle around just enough so that everything feels like there's as little efforting as possible. And then see if you can come back to that awareness of breath. Breathe into that back space that was touching the back of your chair. And as you exhale, armpits and the whole body gets soft and heavy down towards your feet. Go for about 5 more cycles of breath if you can. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly start to lift your head away from the low side of the chair. Take your time as you just come up to that seated position. And then once you're in that seated position, pause for a moment, notice, give your equilibrium a moment. And now hands are going to come behind the back. So we're going to keep our legs just as they are. Then you'll position your fingertips pointing toward your butt or away from your butt. That's just whatever feels more comfortable to your wrists and your shoulders. Once you've got your hands behind you, walk your hands in just slightly closer towards each other, but not extreme. And then press gently into your palms, gently lift your heart, slowly and mindfully lift your chin, but just a little bit, not extreme. What we're looking for is a little bit of opening through the chest, the collarbones, and the heart space. So nothing extreme where you're changing your vision too much. And then once you found your way here, just breathe again into that front of the heart space versus the back of the heart space. But as you exhale, still imagine that your armpits and the full body get soft and heavy down towards your feet. Take one more breath. And then slowly and mindfully release. So we're just going to come back to that neutral position. So just for a moment, come back to neutral. Let your hands rest. Let your legs just be in that soft, comfortable position. Gaze forward, shoulders soft, and then take a breath. But now breathe back into that back space of the body. And as you exhale, armpits and the body get soft down into the feet. Now you may choose one variation or the other. This is just going to be what feels more comfortable, but you might go for a little bit of a half butterfly, a little bit of a wide leg position, but we're going to take the hand. So the leg that's longer and wider, you're going to take that elbow to the inside. So you're going to go for a little bit of a rotation and then a little bit of a side stretch. So once you've got that little sense of rotation, stretch your arm up and overhead just enough, but keep your vision steady and forward. Take a nice full breath in. As you exhale, armpit and the full body gets soft and heavy down towards the feet. Take one more breath. Slow as you can, come up and out of that little side bend, unwind that little bit of a twist, and then reposition your legs. So if you bent the knee, go ahead and take a moment to reset it, or just keep the legs just as they are if you went for both legs wide. If you went bent knee and you want to bend into that half butterfly on the other side, take a moment to do that. And then we're going to go elbow to the inner thigh. So there's a little bit of a rotation in the torso, and then that top hand stretches up and overhead just enough so you feel a little bit of a side body stretch, maybe a little bit of armpit stretch as well. And then come back to your breath. Breathe into that back space of your body. Exhale, armpits and the full body get soft and heavy down towards your feet. One more breath. And then come up and out nice and slow. Take your time as you release. And now we're going to reposition our props. So I'm going to scooch my chair forward. You'll reposition slowly and mindfully. If you have your yoga block, it'll create a little bit of an inclined plane, which sometimes feels really nice. If you don't have your yoga block available, don't worry about it. But we're going to take our two pillows now and we're going to stack them long ways behind our body. So go as slow as you can. Take the time to position your pillows. So if you've got the yoga block, put it at like the top end so that you get that little inclined plane. But if you don't have your yoga block, do not worry about it. And then once you've got your pillows in place and you've got maybe that block underneath, then you're going to scoot your bum back so that your tailbone's off the edge of your pillows, but it's as snuggled up as close to you as it can be. And then we're just going to lean our way back, but take your time as you come back. And then you want to make sure that the pillows in the block feel like they're going to support you. Once you've got that supported position, you're going to let your arms come out nice and wide. If it feels comfortable, you'll let your eyes rest on the ceiling. So not a like pinpoint focus gaze, but just a soft general focus at the ceiling. So you're not trying to pick anything out. You're not trying to see anything specific. You're just letting your eyes rest in that long distance position. And then once you've got your eyes resting in that long distance position, notice how that feels. If that feels like it's just too much or too dizzying or too whatever, it might feel better to close your eyes down. But if it feels comfortable to keep your eyes open, then you'll keep your eyes open in that soft focused gaze. Just blink whenever feels appropriate. And now we're going to bring our awareness back to our breath. So you're going to imagine you're breathing into that back space of the body that was touching the chair. And as you exhale, armpits and the whole body are going to get soft and heavy down towards the feet. Now, just for a moment here, let your awareness come to your legs, your feet, your knees. And if you feel like there's any action happening in the legs, the feet, the knees, if there's any laboring happening, if you're using muscles to hold any particular position, see if you can invite some letting go into that. So maybe you'll move it into a little bit of a constructive rest so that the legs don't have to work too hard, or maybe you'll take it into a reclined butterfly, just assuming that external rotation feels comfortable and restful. So find a position with the legs so that there's as little effort as possible. And then once you've got your legs arranged so that there's no efforting happening, then come back to your breath. Breathe into the back space where your back was touching the chair. Exhale, armpits and the full body get soft and heavy down towards your feet. We're going to go for about 5 more cycles of breath. Now, you may choose to stay here. You might be like, this is where it's at, and I do not need to leave this place. I am happy as can be. Cool. If this is the place where it's at, then you might choose to stay here. But I'll tell you where we're going before we start to move so that you might choose to make a smooth transition in any way that feels reasonable to you. What we'll attempt to do is we're going to roll to one side and we'll reposition the stack of pillows, not the yoga block, but the stack of pillows so that they're sideways under our rib cage. So when you feel ready, if you feel like you want to move, you'll slowly shift your hips over to one side. You'll go as slow as you can so that the head turn is the slowest thing possible as you gently turn to one side, and then you'll reposition yourself just enough so that you can rotate your pillow sideways. Move your block out of the way because that might just feel like it's a little too much height underneath the ribs. It might feel good. Who's to say? I don't know your ribs. But if you can get there, then lay down sideways on your stack of pillows so that it's underneath the rib cage. And then legs are going to be like starting like they're in a fetal position, but the top leg is going to slide back just a little bit. And then once you've got your way there, if it feels comfortable, that top arm is going to reach up and overhead. So very similar to that side body stretching that we did from the seated position, but now we're just taking it a little bit lower to the ground. Might feel a little bit softer and a little bit more supportive and less heavy on the hips. So notice just that little subtle variation in this position. And then once you've just felt and noticed, breathe into that back space of the body that was connected to the back of your chair. And as you exhale, the body gets soft and heavy down towards your feet. Go for 5 more cycles of breath if you can. One more cycle of breath, but then knowing that we're going to transition to the other side, how would that transition work the best? Would it feel better to come almost as if you're going through a tabletop position and rotate belly down? Or would it feel better to come up to a seated position and then shift yourself around? So shift around in a way that feels the smoothest and least effective to the equilibrium. And then once you've found your way over to the other side, take a moment, get the pillows underneath your rib cage. Let that bottom arm rest. Top leg is going to slide back just a little bit, like you're reaching that foot towards the back edge of your mat.
And then top arm is going to reach up and overhead, and all things available for change. So if you get on this side and there's just something different that happens here and you need to make little variations, make sure that you feel good, happy, and comfortable. Check in with your breath. Can you breathe into the back space of your body? Can you slowly exhale and let the body get heavy towards your feet? Go for about 3 more cycles of breath here if you can. Now, before we move away from this space, I'll tell you where we're going so that the transition feels the most easeful to your body and to your equilibrium. So we're going to move it towards our shavasana with legs up the wall, but using the chair as our legs up the wall. So we're going to attempt to put one pillow underneath our hips and one pillow on the chair for a little bit of cushion. So when you feel ready, coming up and out, take your time, go as slow as you can. As you come around, take a moment to pause. And then if it's available, you'll take one pillow, put it on top of the chair, and then you'll take one pillow and sort of tuck it underneath the bend of your knees so that it's just there, ready to go. And then you'll get to your position slow as possible. So you're going to lift your butt up, scooch it up onto that pillow that's underneath, that's going to be underneath your hips. Legs are going to kick up and over, but you're going to take your time. You're going to go down as slow as possible. Keep your eyes steady, keep your gaze focused, and then come down, take your time. Once you're all the way down, just give everything a moment. Wiggle out your hips, wiggle out your feet, make sure everything has found a way to get soft and heavy. You can readjust your feet so that your feet rest a little bit on that tall side if that little extra bit of elevation feels good. So any little variation so that it feels like a nice, happy position for your body. We're going to let hands rest on the belly. And then to start, if it feels comfortable enough to do so, you're just going to let your eyes come back to that long distance, soft, focused look up towards the ceiling. So not trying to have an eagle eye pointed view. We're just going to try to look softly up towards the ceiling and let your eyes rest at that comfortable distance. Assuming that it feels comfortable to let your eyes rest and focus up towards the ceiling, you'll keep your eyes open as long as you can until you hit that point where your eyes start to sting or start to water. Now, if that feels like a cool sensation and you're interested in it, you can stay there longer and just hold your gaze the whole time. But if you would like to close your eyes for your shavasana, once you hit that stinging sensation or your eyes start to water, then that would be your cue to close your eyes down and then let your breath slow down as well. You always have the option to stay in your Shavasana just as long as you like. So if you're happy just as you are, might be a cue for your body that this is where you want to be and you don't want to move away from it. And that is a-okay. If you feel ready to do so and you want just that little gentle reawakening of the body, start to twinkle your fingers, start to twinkle your toes. Start to notice your breath again coming in and out through your nose. And then keeping your legs in that elevated position just a little bit longer if it feels comfortable enough to do so. Arms are going to stretch up and overhead like they're going towards that big good morning stretch. So take a little bit of a yawning reach, and then arms are just going to gently sweep down alongside the hips. And then we're just going to move our arms a little bit with a breath connection. So arms are going to move down alongside the hips. And then as you inhale, arms are going to sweep back up and overhead, but you're going to keep your eyes either closed or looking up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, arms are going to come back down alongside the hips. Inhale, arms are going to stretch up and overhead. Exhale, arms are going to come back down, and then right hand is going to stay down alongside the hips. Left hand is going to just rainbow up and over above your head. And then we're going to go for a little bit of think yawning stretch, but reaching in opposite direction. So your right hand and your left hand are going to reach out and away from each other, like you're trying to grab something at the foot of your chair and you're trying to grab something above your head. Take a moment to feel that little oppositional reach, and then soften, relax, and we're going to switch to the other side. So now left hand is going to come down, right hand's going to reach up. Pause for a moment. Once you've got your arms in position, left hand's going to reach down, right hand's going to reach up, like you're reaching out and away from each other, stretching towards the foot of the chair, reaching towards something above your head. And then when you're ready, slowly release. Now fingertips are going to touch the shoulders, and you're just going to take your elbows and draw them in some gentle circles. Circle in one direction, but go slow. And then look up towards the ceiling. So rather than letting your eyes notice the movement of your elbows, you're going to keep your eyes looking upward in a soft focus. And then when you feel ready, you'll take those elbow circles and you'll just draw them the other way. Take your time, go slow. Nice. And then let your hands just kind of come down, rest wherever feels the most comfortable. You're going to pull your right knee towards your heart space and just let it rest heavy towards your heart. And then keeping the knee sort of heavy towards the heart, do light little kicks of the foot up and down towards the ceiling. But then you'll want to just avoid watching that foot move in any fast paced rhythm. So let your eyes find that soft focus in front of you. They're not trying to pinpoint or look at anything in particular, just looking out into the distance with a soft gaze. All right, one more little bend and straighten of that leg, and then float that foot back down to your chair. Pause for a moment. Now left knee is going to pull towards your heart space. Pause there. If it feels good, the leg is going to gently kick up and down, but not too much. And then you're going to watch your focus gaze. So eyes are going to be in that soft, long distance focus up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. And then once you've gently lifted and lowered that leg just enough, we're going to slowly and mindfully roll to one side. So if the pillow underneath your hips is going to get a little hitch in your giddy up, you'll want to lift your hips up and shift that pillow out from underneath you first. Go as slow as you can. And then once you've got yourself arranged so that you can carefully roll to one side, take your time. Let your eyes or your head be the last thing to move, and then pause once you're in that side lying position. Feel the solidness of the floor beneath you. Come back to your breath for a moment. Breathe into that back space of the body that was connected to your chair. And as you exhale, get soft and heavy towards your feet. Okay, now we're going to come up as slow as possible. If you feel like it would feel good and beneficial, you'll go for like a down dog at the chair just to stretch through the back of the body. But if you feel like that would not be beneficial, then you're going to skip that part. But we're going to come back to a seat in the chair. So you're going to take your time as you come all the way up. If you feel like in the midpoint, a little bit of a down dog at the chair would feel good, then that's where you'll go. But if not, then you're just going to position yourself so that you can come to a seat. So find your way to whatever feels like it's just going to feel just right, but keep your hands on the chair and keep your eyes in a focused position any way that you can.
I'm going to spin myself around so that my chair is facing out, but you'll position yourself in a way that feels really good. You can keep the pillow to the back of your chair only if it feels good. If it feels like it's just creating too much space and you're just not able to sit your butt comfortably, then you'll leave that part off. But then once you've got yourself in your seat, even with the pillow against the back of your seat, you're going to sit up slightly tall. You're going to pause for a moment and just notice the breath coming in and out through your nose. And then as you notice the breath coming in and out through your nose, you're going to notice if one side feels a little bit more free flowing or if one side feels a little bit more congested. If both nostrils are breathing freely, then you'll just use your dominant hand. But if you notice that there's one side that's slightly more congested, then you'll close off the slightly more congested side, and we'll stick with just that. Or you'll just go dominant hand. So you're going to close off the nostrils with your thumb. You may also choose to place middle finger, index finger at that third eye center with just a little bit of a pressure point there. So perhaps index finger, middle finger to the third eye center, thumb to the closed side nostril, and then you're just going to take about 5 to 10 deep breaths through the open side, just depending on the pace that you're going with. Nice slow inhalations through your nose. Even slower exhalation. Go for about 1 or 2 more cycles of breath, just depending at the pace that you're breathing with. And then we'll keep our index finger, middle finger on that third eye center. And if they're not already there, then when you release your thumb, you'll place index finger, middle finger to the third eye center. Release your thumb, breathe freely in through both nostrils now, but take your middle finger and index finger and just gently draw some circles at that third eye center. So just a light massaging action. And then notice the breath coming in and out through your nose. If you're drawing those circles in one particular direction, maybe reverse, go the other way. Awesome. And now we're going to keep that hand at the forehead, but our other hand is going to come up to me and we're just going to lightly tap across the forehead. So eyes opened or closed, that'll be totally up to you, but you're just going to gently tap your light little piano fingers to the third eye center, out towards the temples, tap any direction or any way that feels organic and natural. And it's a light, gentle tapping sensation. Notice your breath. And then once you feel like you've tapped the forehead just enough, now we're going to take those tapping fingers up to the crown of the head. And then maybe just a little bit more stimulation to the crown of the head, but only if it feels good. Go for about 2 or 3 more cycles of breath. Tap anywhere that feels good. And then before we release our hands to our heart space, we're going to just tap gently to the back of the head. Take just a couple of gentle taps here. And then once you've tapped the back of the head just enough, float your hands to heart center in Anjali Mudra and keep your head in an upright position. So not bowing the head towards the heart, but feeling your thumbs connected to your sternum, feeling the space between your hands, noticing the breath in your body. Breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and for all of your hard work. And then breathing a whole bunch of extra love and gratitude that you can carry with you through the rest of your day and share with anyone who might need it. And then when you feel ready, slowly start to open your eyes. If a big yawning stretch would feel good, you're going to stretch your arms up and overhead and reach your legs out in front of you and just find that bit of space and energy back into your body. And then slowly release and give everything a little shrug and a wiggle so it all feels good. You are amazing. Happy Wednesday.